What's up everybody, it's Owen here from Devil's Watches, back with part 2 of our watch complication series. If you haven't seen the first one, don't worry, I'll put a link at the end of this video and you can go back and watch it after. But before you do that and before we get into this video, please, if you can subscribe to the channel, it helps us out greatly here. And also hit the little bell and check us out at www.devilwatches.com. And we have a few sales going on there so you can get a lot of beautiful watches. So now, let's get into the video. Before we get into the video, just to explain what an actual complication is, for anyone who doesn't know, a watch complication is anything a watch does that isn't telling the time. So if it tells the day, if you can use it as a stopwatch, if you can use it to tell different time zones, it's a complication. So the first complication we're going to talk about is a chronograph, which is pretty much just a stopwatch. I'll put a picture up of one of the most famous ones, the Speedy or Speedmaster from Omega. As you can see, the sub-dials are what is technically just a stopwatch. So some watches will have 2 dials for seconds and minutes, and some other ones have seconds, minutes and hours, so you can time longer. There's different types of chronographs. So the first one is just your basic chronograph, which is one pusher, which you'll see in a lot of vintage watches, where it's just start, you tick in and press again and it stops. Then you have to manually reset the watch to start again. We have flyback chronos, which sounds like a great name, which is pretty much what most modern chronographs are now, where you have 2 pushers like on the Speedmaster. The first one will start and you'll press it again to stop, and then when you press the lower pusher, that will fly back to 0, so everything will go back to 0, so you reset the stopwatch. And then the last one we have is a split second chronograph, which will just pretty much just have 2 second hands, so you could time 2 events. So if you're timing 2 runners in a race, you could time the first one and the second one at the same time, and then when the first one finishes, you can stop that one and he'll have his time, and then you can stop the second one when the second runner comes in, and they'll both have their separate times and you timed it at the same time. So they're chronographs. They're one of the more simple ones. They're nice to look at with the dials. A lot of cheaper watches, like really cheap watches, will have like stickers as chronographs, so you don't want to buy one of them. But yeah, beautiful watches. A great complication to get into if you want to get into complications, because they're not that expensive. So go check out a few of them, and let's move on to the next thing. Now we have a GMT. What does GMT stand for? It's Greenwich Mean Time. Greenwich is a small town in England, and it's where time zone starts. So it's 0 in Greenwich, and then as you move across one part of the world, you put hours on, or you add hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, and the other way you go back hours. So that's the way every city is obviously a few hours ahead or a few hours behind the others. So I'll put a picture up here, one of the most famous GMTs. It's the Rolex GMT Master 2. One of the most beautiful watches, come in Batmans, Pepsis, every kind of colour that you could think of. But the idea of the GMT was developed for pilots that were, say, flying from 2 time zones. So you could, if you were doing your route was from Dublin to Miami, you could have your London set and then your New York time set, so you didn't have to change your watch every time you got on and off the plane. So it's a great idea. It's practical at the time. Like everything in watchmaking, it's kind of now it's not really as practical because your phone changes like that when you travel to these areas, but it's just beautiful. So as you can see, you have your minute hand, which is normal, you have your hour hand, and then you have a third hand, which is another hour hand. So you'll set each hour hand to your certain time zone, and then if you also wanted to, you can use the bezel that rotates, and you can set a third time zone. So you can have 3 time zones on your GMT, which is great if you are a pilot, or if that's the way you travel, or you have head offices in another city and you're somewhere, so you'll always know what time it is then. So they're just beautiful to look at, nice and simple. Beautiful complication, and one of my favorite watches too. Next up, we have a world timer, which is pretty much just a GMT on steroids. So I'll put a picture up here of a Patek Philippe world timer, and I can talk you through the dial, so I have to look at my computer to talk you through. But you can see the cities around the outer ring. These are all the different time zones, so you set your time zone. So I live in Ireland, so my time zone will be London, so I set London to 12 o'clock, as you can see is set on the watch here now. And you set your time, so it's 10 minutes past 10 or 10:10 in the morning AM. So what you can do then is you can work for the rest of the cities then, what time it is. So if you look at this and you see Tokyo, you can see 19 is pointing to Tokyo, so you know that it's 7 p.m. over there, and you're 10 minutes past, so it's 10 minutes past 7 in the evening. As you can see, there is the sun for the light part of the numbers, and then is the evening for the darker part of the numbers, so you'll be able to tell if it's PM or AM wherever you want in the world. Beautiful concept. the main reasons why people would use it, if you're doing a lot of travel maybe, or if you're a trader, or you trade stocks and you work on a lot of different stock floors, or you want to see what time markets open at in Tokyo, in London, in New York, wherever you invest. Or if you're someone that works in a global company where you have people working during all different time zones, you'll be able to just look at your watch and say, okay, it's too early to email, or it's too late, or I can call them now. So yeah, it's just a beautiful watch. A lot of the dials they can get carried away, the dials, and you can put maps on it, and they're just beautiful. But you know, it's a great example of what they do, all with just one pusher. Just moves the outer ring around, and then you set the time. So if you were, say, living in Mexico, you'd put Mexico to 12 o'clock. You'd set your local time there in Mexico on the main hands, and then you'd be able to tell whatever time it is everywhere else. So it's just a beautiful watch, a world timer, and I love them. Next up, we have the Tourbillon. I don't know how good my French is, but it means whirlwind in French. It's one of the most expensive watches you can buy, and once you see a tourbillon, you'll understand why, and you'll spot it straight away. So the idea of the tourbillon is, in every mechanical watch you have a balance wheel. So what the balance wheel does, it regulates the second hand. So your watch keeps a constant time the whole time. It doesn't go faster at some parts of the day and slower at other parts of the day. So at the time, the problem they were encountering was with pocket watches. So the pressure that was on the balance wheel in the pocket watch when it was moving, because you know, with a pocket watch you put it in your pocket and you might walk around for the day within your jacket, it doesn't get much movement sideways or up or down like a watch. So the idea was that if you could put the balance wheel on an axle or multi-axle so that it can move and flow itself like on a ball, as you can see in the picture, that it wouldn't, the gravity wouldn't have as much effect on the balance wheel, and it would be better able to regulate the watch. So if you talk to people now, watchmakers, and they tell you, does a tourbillon make that much of a difference? No, it probably doesn't, but it's like everything in watchmaking, it's just a little problem, and they just want to prove that they can fix it, like they can beat gravity. So that's a tourbillon. It's one of the most complicated ones. If you want to learn more, please read about it, because it's hard to explain in a little 1 minute section. But that's the main idea, and it looks beautiful too. Another one of my favourite complications, I'll put a picture up here, one of my favourite watches of all time, the DB28. And this is a jump hour, and pretty much does exactly what it says in the tin. It jumps an hour. So as you can see in this example, you have the minutes going across the top, and then you just have a window, which is like a date window with the number. So the number is the hour, and then the dial that goes along the top is the minutes. So the idea is that your hour is in the window, and then your time goes along until it gets to 59, and then when it hits 60, the hour jumps to the next hour. So it's not like with a lot of watches, say, they have date windows, you can kind of see the number moving as the day goes on. This is different because it just jumps to the spot. My favourite thing about them and why I like them is just, it's a different way of telling the time. If you're wearing one of these and you don't see them much, and someone came up and said, oh, can I see the time, and you show them time, it will take them a few minutes to kind of work out, wait, what's this, that, there. So I just think they're a beautiful watch, something different. They also have another example that rather than having the dial along the top, they'll have a 1 minute hand. So they'll have a window with the hour, and then they'll have a minute hand that just goes around like a normal clock face, and you tell the minutes from that, and then you have your hour in the window. So that's a jump hour. It does exactly what it says in the tin, and it's one of my favourites, definitely in top 3. And last but not least, we have a minute repeater. I'll put a picture up here of a Patek. One of my favourite movements, just because it brings music and watchmaking together, or say like your music box. So a minute repeater, why the name doesn't really say what you think it would be, just tells the time from sound, so from chimes. So what you'll do, if you can see on the side of the watch, not the crown side, the other side, there's a little bit that comes out. If you slide that up, it will start telling the time in dings. So first will indicate the hour, so it might go ding, ding, ding. You say it's 3 o'clock. Then next it tells the quarter hours, so it might go ding, ding. So you know it's 2:15, so it's 3:30, and then it goes for every minute. So if it goes for 3 more minutes, you know that it's 33 minutes past 3, or 3:33. So yeah, it just sounds beautiful as well. It's just something that's a party piece. if you were to talk to someone and you ask, oh, what time is it, and you could just go, and then you could hear the beautiful noise. It just shows that they can put, which is essentially a small music box, into the watch beside the complications. Just blows my mind anyway. And one of the main things I like about especially this example that I have up here is how simple the watch looks. Usually with complications, they make the watch look more complicated because there's more things going on. There's subdials, there's windows, there's dates, there's everything, there's moon phases, everything's going on in the watch, and the dial looks very like full. But with this, it's simple. If you weren't into watches and you didn't know what a Patek Philippe was, if you saw that watch, you would just say, oh, it just looks like a normal watch. You wouldn't even notice what's going on inside the watch or what it can do or the value of the watch. So it's just a simple looking watch and with extraordinary movement and complications. So that's just one of the reasons. I think if I was to rate my favorite complications, I would probably put number 3 would be a jump hour. Number 2 might be a moon phase, and then number 1, minute repeater. I'm kind of simple. I like things simple and just beautiful, and that's exactly what this is. So yeah, thanks for listening. That's all the complications we went through. If there's any more complications that you don't understand or would like me to talk about, please comment below. But for now, thank you, and once again, please subscribe.